Hello, welcome back to Uncle Sal's Garage. On the last episode, we kind of put the finishing touches on the 2270 motor. On today's episode, we're going to close the book on the build series. I've got an MSD that we installed in there and a relocation of the fuel pump. So let's get started. Part 1, Rewiring the fuel pump. All right, let me explain what I'm doing. I am trying to enable the fuel pump on a circuit that doesn't come off the coil. Right now my fuel pump is driven off the coil. Alright, that's the stock fuel pump connector. In theory, what I've done on the relay board should be enabling the positive and the negative in this connector. It should be hot now that I've installed the relay and I've grounded out that one pin on the fuel injection board. So let me put two provisional wires in here and test whether or not they're getting juice. All right, well, I've got the the upper left post here into a ground wire that goes into the battery, and then I've got what I believe to be power and ground coming from the fuel pump connector into my multimeter power and ground. So let's turn the car on to see if I'm getting 12 volts. And I am. So this could totally power the fuel pump. Just for giggles, I disconnected this from the ground circuit, and now I'm not reading 12 volts. So that was it. You had to just ground that out, and then the built-in OEM connector becomes viable. We tested the positive and negative side of the stock connector, that guy right there. We got 12 volts, and we got ground. So now we are just using the existing power and ground from the fuel pump from the previous owner and just shoving it in there. It's a short run. I left a lot of extra slack, maybe too much. But yeah, this should turn on when I turn the car on. So you go key on and you hear the whir of the fuel pump and turn the key and it works. Just as you'd expect, driven off of the OEM connector. Part 2, installing the MSD. The MSD requires slightly larger gaps than stock, so the first thing I did was pull the plugs and re-gap them. MSD calls for a 0.04 gap on the spark plugs. Factory is a 0.028, so it's definitely bigger. Well, after 1,000 or so miles, I thought I'd video what the spark plugs look like, and I think they look pretty good. This is cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I like them. No excessive carbon or evidence of fouling. Alright, as you can see, I've mounted the MSD against the firewall. I just used sheet metal screws and the natural padding of the firewall to kind of dampen the vibrations. Hopefully that works. Alright, so looking at the instructions, there really aren't that many wires coming out of the MSD to kind of mess it up. So of course you've got, this isn't done correctly yet, but you got power and ground, the two heavy ones coming from the MSD. I don't have a magnetic distributor, so none of that is, none of the green and violet wires need to be used. So here's a note about the coil. This is the MSD with the the sheathed harness coming from the MSD. That's the only thing that's allowed to be on the coil, nothing else. And that was part of the reason why I redid the power to the fuel pump. I mean, other than the fact that running it off the coil is kind of clown town. I knew that, you know, you couldn't have the MSD and the way my fuel pump was wired previously working at the same time. So that had to be done. So that's correct. You've got the positive and negative sides of the coil, and you've got orange and black, orange going to positive, black going to negative. And so that is connected correctly. So coil done. All right, another thing the MSD does is it provides you with, so I've already kind of taped them off and kind of put them out of the way down here, but basically coming out of the wiring harness, the Porsche wiring harness, is your 12 volts. And that powers things in the engine bay. For me, I needed to use the provided pigtail the MSD provides you, because it knows that, you know, it and other things in the engine bay require 12 volts. So using that one pigtail provided from the 12 volt coming from the Porsche harness, I'm powering the MSD, and I'm also powering the 1, 2, 3 distributor. So that's the red wire here coming out of the 1, 2, 3, and that's going to one of the red pigtails. What else I've done is you've got the white. Oh, excuse me, look at the wrong one. The white lead coming from the MSD is connected to the black, or the lead coming out of the 1, 2, 3 that's supposed to pick up the negative side of the coil to pick up that sort of signal. So in this case, the black wire coming from my MSD, so this guy right here, should go to the white wire from the MSD. And I've kind of like taped it already because I could just try to get it out of the way. Just for a first start. Obviously I have to bundle these wires properly. But so you can't like see the connection connected, but it's there. The way the wiring harness works for the 914s is that this black with violet stripe wire, here where my thumb is, sorry about that, is what drives the tach. And the previous owner had it connected to the negative side of the coil, and when you have an MSD, nothing else can be on the coil but the MSD. So the MSD provides you this gray wire, which is supposed to power the tach signal, and you see that here, gray tach output. I haven't connected them yet. I've just sort of like taped them together. I mean, they're not connected; they're just bundled and taped off, like this, because everyone says you need a tach adapt, that the MSD won't drive the tach correctly. So just to get the car started and get it going, I don't want to deal with the tach right now. I don't need the tachometer, at least to prove the model works. So we're leaving that off for now. So the gray wire, it goes nowhere. It will eventually either go to a tach adapt or go to that tach pickup signal, but TBD on that. All right, so I think that's all the wires from the MSD we talked about. Of course, heavy red and heavy black are going to the battery and the ground strap right there. We talked about the gray tach output wire, which is not connected initially. We talked about the red getting the pigtail from the 12 volt from the Porsche harness. We talked about the white connecting to the black from the distributor. And we talked about the orange and the black being on the coil. So I think that's literally all the wires I need to worry about. Let's get the spark plug wires connected, and let's see if we can do a first start. Well, as advertised, it started right up. I actually think it started up way faster than without the MSD. I hit it and it started. Unbelievable. It's like exactly the way they said it would work. So I don't know if you could see it on the video here, but the MSD, the red light, is flickering for every time the distributor's firing. So that's a good sign. It's idling at a really nice speed. Maybe a little, you can't tell because I don't have the tach installed. Of course, the wiring's got to get all cleaned up. This is just a proof. Before I start cutting stuff, I needed to make sure it was going to work. And maybe what I'll do now is I'll hook up the tach wire, see if my tack works. If it does, then I know I can button everything up and start cutting wires and really get this done. And if it doesn't work, or it blows the fuses, which was what I was doing last time without the tack adapt, I know I have to rewire this whole situation to incorporate a tack adapt. So let's do that now and see what happens. All right, in the car, we just started it multiple times with the MSD, so I think that is not, any failure at this point is not MSD or wiring or coil or any of that related. The only thing differently I did this time was I connected the gray wire from the MSD to the tack lead for the dashboard here. So let's see if it blows. All right, well, the tachometer works. That's a very good sign. Now, like I said, it would blow when I would rev it above 3. It appears as though it's not blowing. All right, let's talk through what I did. So I brought both the power to the MSD from the 12 volt switched. I brought the power and the distributor signal in the same wire to here, and I split them out. So that's that red wire is going to the 12 volt, and this one here to continue around is going into the output from the 123. So the 123 and the MSD are connected with a white wire and the black wire. And then the 123's 12 volt switched is a part of this larger plastic harness, because it's got like a pigtail in it. The 123's ground is the blue one. So MSD white and red are in the same harness. MSD gray is one of these plastic sheaths going to the to right there, the tack. This is the purple black wire, so this is the tack pickup, which is normally on coil negative, but you have to leave the coil free for the MSD, so that goes into the gray wire. And then MSD out into the black and orange, black coil negative, orange coil positive, only things touching the coil. And then you've got this sort of the two thick wires running over underneath the battery to the battery terminal. One is the black one is there for the ground for the MSD, and this big honking one in the front is a red one to give MSD battery power, like regardless of the switched 12 volts. But yeah, this is what the engine compartment looks like now. I mean, I think it's a lot cleaner than just all those random wires. I mean, there are a lot of these plastic, sheaths, but I think I prefer that to just the wires floating there. And also, because the plastic sheaths, all of the terminal connection points, all of the male and females that are mated are all covered, so you can't get water or anything in them, oil. So I'm pretty happy with this. This is the engine compartment. I'm going to start the car up now and make sure it works, but that concludes the MSD hookup process. Part 3, verifying the car's timing. So I can't remember, there was some kind of post where it said the thick fan was what represented some degrees away from top dead center, but for what I did is there's that red line that comes on the fan. And what I did to make it easier for when I was timing it with a timing light is I just painted this entire fin. So I tried to make my life easier. I verified the timing marks on the fan at 0 and 27 degrees. So right now I'm going to verify that my distributor and the engine are completely aligned. So what I did was I loaded into the 123 27 degrees advance at about 2,500 RPMs. So I'm just gonna get my timing light going, dial it into 27 degrees, rev the motor to 25, and that will confirm my distributor and the 123 rather, and the motor are completely in sync. So let's go hunting for 27 degrees. Can you hold the light? Just hold it there.
Great success.
All right, so that about does it for the 2270 build series. The motor is broken in. We've wired the fuel pump to the stock harness. We installed the MSD for cleaner burns and more power, and we verified the 1, 2, 3 and the motor are in sync. So now comes the fun part, just driving it around and fine-tuning the distributed curves on the 1, 2, 3, finding dead spots, hunting for power, that kind of stuff. And yeah, just in time for driving season. So we'll have a couple videos on that coming up shortly. But before we conclude this video, let's follow up on some of our oil leaks. So this is the filler neck the previous owner had on the 1.8 motor. Now remember, this is the rebuilt 1.7 that we bored out to 2270. So this is my motor with the previous owner's filler neck and breather on it. And, you know, I never really paid attention to what was going on down here, but I got to imagine this is puke and oil. All of that on the case. And definitely down in here, there's just like a lot of oil around. And I'm not really sure why this breather style is really necessary. The breather I had on, well, admittedly it was 1.7, but I mean, this guy's previous owner was a 1.8. So I don't know, why this breather would be needed on a 1.8 and not on a 1.7. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to graft on my existing filler neck, which doesn't have a breather, this guy, and I'm going to graft that onto the new motor and see if some of those leaks in the engine compartment clean themselves up. And there it is. Let's see if this helps some of that oily residue collecting not just on the case there, but potentially sliding down by the oil filter, oil cooler, and falling on the floor. So let's give this a couple miles and we'll check back in. Another thing I'm going to do to chase down these oil leaks, as you can see right there, right on the housing of the oil filter, there's a drip forming. And frankly on the cable below it. I'm going to replace the oil filter. Perhaps the seal is somehow compromised, or God forbid I cross-threaded it as something. So I'm going to take that off. I'm not going to do a full oil change. It doesn't need it yet, but I am going to take that filter off, put a new one on, see if between that, changing the oil filter, and changing out that breather neck, I'm going to see if those things help with some of the engine oil leaking. Up next on Uncle Sal's Garage, chasing down transaxle oil leaks and getting shifty.